wow, this story is really heating up. And if you're looking for a video to talk to you about this and break it down to you, you have come to the right spot. This is about the NFL player, Michael Oher, who played for the Ravens and the Carolina Panthers. He was mentored, we'll just say that for now, by the Oher family, and it was depicted in the film The Blind Side, starring Sandra Bullock. This video, I'm going to break this down to you because he's actually filing a petition to get damages from the family who were mentoring him for many, many years, and we'll get into that in a second. However, when the story first broke out, it sounded like it was a total nightmare for the Tuohys, who was the family depicted by Sandra Bullock. But now more information has come out, and I have waited for quite a bit to do a video on this because I figured it would, because this whole thing was really suspicious. So in this video, I'm going to talk to you about what's the Blind Side story is all about, Michael Oher and the Tuohys, and give you all the information that we know. Then I'm going to break down his side of the story of what he is saying. This is Michael Oher, what his accusations are. And then I'm going to give you the response from the Tuohy family and what they have been talking about and what they have been saying in their release. And then I'm going to give you a third party of this who wrote the book, The Blind Side, and give you his analysis on this. And then I'm going to talk to you about other people in the media like Jason Whitlock and some liberals like your boy, the race baiter in chief, Mr. Roland Martin. And then I'm going to also talk to you about what Michael Oher said in his own book. It actually contradicts just about everything he said so far. And then lastly, we're going to talk to you about how the woke mob, as we can all expect to see, is now asking for Sandra Bullock, who won an Oscar and Academy Award for her role in the film The Blind Side, to give her Oscar back. Of course, all of this is ridiculous, as I knew it would be, because whenever you have a black man being a victim, being, in this case, a conservator to a white family, all of a sudden you could just expect and know that over time, somehow the black person is going to claim victimhood and blame whitey, and here we are.
Oh, because of the racism.
Now, I'm going to try very hard not to choose sides on this, let you figure this out for yourself. So we're going to start out right now and giving you what we know right now. This is from the New York Post. The former NFL player Michael Oher, who was the subject of the movie The Blind Side, claims that Sean and Lee and Tuohy never officially adopted him. Now, if you watch the movie, I'll break it down for you really quickly. Here's a guy, he had athletic ability, he could play basketball, he was noticed, he was brought into this home, he had an opportunity to play left tackle in college at Ole Miss University, and long story short, they did some legal documents to get him to play, and then he became an NFL star, and the rest is history, and that's basically the whole story. It says here, according to the court papers, the Tuohys tricked Oher into signing over legal authority to use his name. He's now 37 years old, and he's alleging that the Tuohys used their conservatorship to make millions in royalties from the 2009 Oscar-nominated film. Now, a conservatorship, we'll talk about that a little bit later, but it's like a light adoption. It's just something that's less official, but allows them to have control over certain things in his life so he can attend college. They were alums to the college, Ole Miss. So there's some other NCAA things there that they had to get around. And so that was the reason for that, according to the film and according to the Tuohys. The claim is also that the Tuohys have enriched themselves at the expense of their ward. This is Oher. This is the legal filing, what it said. It says that Sean Tuohy spoke out against the claims, saying the conservatorship was made to ensure that Oher was eligible to play football at the University of Mississippi. Also claims that Oher wants to end the Tuohy's conservatorship and sign an injunction barring them from using his name and likeness. And lastly, he also wants an accounting of the money they already earned off his name, a fair share of the profits and punitive damages. So that is where we are right now in terms of what the claims are, what the filing was, what the actual petition was all about. Let's go over here and look at this. This is what the Tuohy family responded to. It says here, the Tuohy family has responded to the lawsuit from Michael Oher, claiming they tricked him into thinking they adopted the ex-NFL tackle. It says here, the focal point of the blockbuster movie, The Blind Side, filed a lawsuit on Monday against the Tuohy family. We talked about that. It says here that the family says that they are devastated, that it's upsetting to think we would make money off of our children, but we're going to love Michael at 37, just like we loved him at 16. Oher claimed that he never received a penny from the movie that grossed over $300 million in the box office, and on Tuesday, the family responded to those claims. Okay, now to level set really quickly, Michael Tuohy now is 37 years old, is 20-some years from when this whole thing went down. He claims that he was told that he was going to be adopted. He wasn't. He claimed he didn't know that until February of 2023. More on that later. And now he's won some damages. And so that's what he's claiming. However, even though the movie made around $300 million, when you break down the math, the Hollywood math, it doesn't come down to a lot at all. But here the family says this. The Tuohys said in their statement, they said, "We didn't make any money off the movie. Well, Michael Lewis gave us half of his share." Now, Michael Lewis was the person who wrote the book, The Blind Side. More on him later. Everybody in the family got an equal share, including Michael. It was $14,000 each. We were never offered money. We never asked for money. My money is well documented. You can look it up how much I sold my company for. Now what you'll find out later is that they had some businesses, some franchises that they sold. We'll get into that a little bit later. So let's move on to what he said here. He said, Michael was obviously living with us for a long time, and the NCAA didn't like that. The NCAA is the governing body for college football. They said the only way Michael could go to Ole Miss was if he was actually part of the family. I sat Michael down and told him, if you're planning to go to Ole Miss, or even considering Ole Miss, we think you have to be part of the family. This would do that legally. Talking about the conservatorship. We contacted lawyers who told us that we couldn't adopt over the age of 18. The only thing we could do was to have a conservatorship. We were so concerned it was on the up and up that we made sure the biological mother came to court. Now that's very important. He got his mom to come to court for this. It's hard to know who's telling the truth, but there's no question this is a messy situation. This is going on to the article. Agree. Again, I'm not trying to take sides, but the initial story that came out from Michael Oher was devastating to the Tuohy family. It made it seem like they were just these scandalous leeches who were just exploiting this young kid for their gain. And the other claim is that Oher said that the movie made him look like he was dumb, but I would say that goes to the producers of the film. That doesn't really go on the Tuohys. That goes on the producers and the writer of the book, maybe. Really, it comes down to the director and the screenplay writer and the producers. All right, so that's what we have now. So that is, we have Michael Oher's side, now we have the Tuohy side. Now let's look at a neutral party who basically knows both sides. We mentioned him before. His name is Michael Lewis. He's the author of the book, The Blind Side. And he goes on to say this. The Blind Side author, Michael Lewis, also based off the life of former NFL player Michael Oher, adapted for the film and was nominated for Best Picture at the Oscars. He finally broke his silence, and he told the Washington Post that no one who was involved in the book saw millions of dollars from the movie. The movie earned nearly $310 million from the box office. In the book, Lewis followed Oher from his upbringing in a poor community, his years of service in a private school in Tennessee, to his alleged adoption by Sean and Leah Ann Tuohy. Oher filed on Monday claiming the Tuohys never adopted him but created a conservatorship for him. We mentioned that. Tuohy's lawyer said that the estimated Oher and the family received $100,000 apiece, and the couple paid taxes for the player's portion. So they basically paid off Michael Oher's taxes. Everybody should be mad at Hollywood studio system, said Lewis to the Washington Post. Michael Oher should join the writer's strike. It's outrageous how Hollywood accounting works, but the money is not in Tuohy's pockets. There's many examples of this where Hollywood writes movies off as a deficit, even though everyone got paid, just so they can do funny math and clear things off the books to cover other failed projects of that studio. It goes on all the time. I believe Forrest Gump was a good example of that somehow Forrest Gump made zero money. So that's an example of that. Lewis said that the Tuohy family planned to share the money with Oher, but the NFL player declined his royalty checks. So here we have that according to this author of this book, Michael Lewis of The Blind Side, he said that the Tuohy family offered to give royalty checks to Michael Oher, but he declined.
It does not look good.
Lewis said that he thought the Tuohy family had put the checks into a trust for Oher's son. So instead, he declined the money, according to Lewis, but they put the money into Michael Oher's son into a trust. Of course, all this will come out if it gets sued into discovery, and we'll find out more later. But right now, it's looking pretty bad for Mr. Oher. Mr. Lewis says this. He says, what I feel really sad about is I watched the whole thing up close. Lewis said. They showered him with resources and love. That he's suspicious of them is breathtaking. The state of mind one has to be in to do that. I feel sorry for him. Now, going on here, says here the family's attorney also said that the Tuohys and Oher had been estranged for about a decade. Says that Steve Fierce said Oher had become more and more vocal and more threatening over the past decade or so, and this is devastating for the family. According to this, he's worth $12 million. So I'm not sure what's going on here. Either this estimation of his net worth is wrong or something else is going on, but I think he got tied into some wokeism and somehow the movie offended him and he wants to clear his name, maybe get back into relevancy, something, and this is coming up out of that, because this is what I'm thinking. Because if this is true, then it makes perfect sense. Michael Singer, another attorney who represents the Tuohys, said Tuesday that Oher threatened to plant a negative story in the press about the family unless they paid him $15 million. $15 million. This, my friend, is what they call a shakedown. Singer denied the allegations leveled against Tuohy family in Oher's petition to end their conservatorship, calling them hurtful and absurd. Again, this is more information that is just devastating to Michael Oher's story, and it's beginning to turn on him, very similar to, let's say, Jussie Smollett. Now, here we have here, Fisherman said the couple did not adopt Oher because the conservatorship was the quickest way to satisfy the NCAA's concerns. The family was not just steering him to Ole Miss to play football. It is the Tuohy's alma mater, a belief Lewis is also mentioned to the Washington Post. Now, Fisherman, we didn't mention before, was another attorney for the Tuohys, just so you know that. The Tuohys said that their conservatorship was set up to help Oher with health insurance, get a driver's license, and be admitted to college. In Tennessee, a conservatorship removes power from a person to make decisions for himself, is often used in the case of a medical condition or disability. Oher's petition said the conservatorship was approved despite the fact that he was over 18 years old and had no diagnosed physical or psychological disabilities. Okay, so that's that. He was drafted by the Ravens in 2009. He won a Super Bowl with the Ravens, and he also played with the Carolina Panthers and Tennessee Titans. So he had a very, very successful career. Now, if the story couldn't get any worse for Michael Oher, this story should definitely do it. He wrote in his book in 2011 that he was aware of the Tuohy's conservatorship. He claimed in his petition that he didn't know about this until a few months ago, February of 2023 to be exact. Here he has here on TMZ, it says, it felt like a formality as I had been part of the family for more than a year at that point. Since I was already over the age of 18 and considered an adult by the state of Tennessee, Sean and Lee and would be named my legal conservators right there in his book. And I believe he said it 2 more times. So something doesn't match up. Either he knew about it or he didn't, and something's either wrong. Either the petition is wrong or this book is wrong. Somewhere is wrong, and it just looks bad for him. And of course, you have the Black victimhood squad. You had the people who have to use this to exploit, to say, hey, he's a victim, and look at how these white people are doing this guy dirty and this and that. So Roland Martin, of course, the race baiter that he is, he had to do a video. I watched most of it. But I got to a point here that I'm not going to actually show you because I don't want him to pull a copyright claim on this particular video, even though it's probably be fine, but he would probably do it anyway. He had a guest on here who was so ill-informed that she actually said that the judge watched the movie first before granting the conservatorship. Well, the movie didn't come out until after that. I mean, he had to actually be in college first for that to even happen. So that was ridiculous, first of all. So to be so ill-informed, just to have a story, just to paint a picture of this poor victim, which I'm not saying he is. I mean, it looks bad on this story, so I'm going to try and keep it neutral. But come on, guys. Seriously, that was ridiculous. And we also have Jason Whitlock. He had something pretty funny to say here. He went off on this. He was just saying, look, this is what Jason Whitlock said. He said, your dad never takes responsibility for you. He's talking about of Oher. Your mom never tells you she loves you, repeatedly abandons you for crack cocaine, and renders you homeless. But the truly evil people are the rich white folks who didn't negotiate a good movie deal for you only in America. And Jason Whitlock basically sums it up perfectly. You don't blame your biological parents for doing what they did to you, but you're going to blame these people over here. And I'm just waiting for Colin Kaepernick to come out of the woodworks to talk about this and talk about how the NFL is oppressed and all this and this and that. You know that is absolutely coming. And lastly, if the story can't get any crazier, now they're asking, the woke mob is asking for Sandra Bullock to give back her Oscar over this shenanigans. She has nothing to do with this whatsoever, but this is what happens when you let these people into the door, when you give them a platform, when you give them a little bit of something, a little bit of power or anything, they will take a mile and they will try and bum rush you to get you to do things that are absolutely asinine. And this is a prime example of that. So I went through the numbers and I want to do a quick recap. It looked like in terms of the Blind Side movie that there was essentially a $200,000 pickup or the rights to the film, which was split between the author and the family. And then there was about a $500,000 cut from the film, which is also split between the family and the author. And so we're looking at closely, if you go half and half, it's $250 for the actual film profits and $100 for the book rights or the pickup rights. So basically $350,000. And all of that was what the money they got essentially from the movie, not millions of dollars. Also, the Tuohys, according to their attorneys, offered royalties to Michael Oher. He refused those royalties, and supposedly the Tuohys put that money into a trust fund for Michael Oher's son. And also they allege that he had a $15 million shakedown saying, hey guys, either you do this for me, give me some money, $15 million, or I'm going to plant a story to make you guys look bad.
Gangster.
And lastly, in 2011, Michael Oher wrote a book essentially acknowledging that he had a conservator multiple times in this book, even though he said in this particular petition that he didn't know about it until February of 2023. So what are your thoughts on this story, this Michael Oher story, this Blind Side story? It's really crazy. It's ugly. It's very, very ugly. And people like Flemo Raps and other people who are doing these videos out here early and making these statements should do another video encapsulating all of the evidence that's coming out now on both sides. And let's just let this play out the way it is. But I know it doesn't matter. People are going to pick sides. They're going to pick a narrative and they're going to say, see, this is what's going on. I'm going to wait and see what happens. But right now, I am leaning on the side of the Tuohys simply because of the incongruities and the inconsistencies in Michael Oher's story. You tell me what your thoughts are in the comments below. I'd be curious to know what you think.